Public Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, October 18th, 2018. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. And we've got a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And Sam is in our control room today, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments and questions and opinions and so forth and so on. So let's get right on into it here. There is a lot going on here, and we're continuing to see an escalation of the violence by the left against the right. And right now, so far this year, there have been 8 of these. There was that attempted stabbing attack against Rudy Peters, who's a California congressional candidate. Apparently Peters' attacker Farzad Fazeli shouted disparaging remarks about Republicans before attempting to stab the GOP candidate with a switchblade, which fortunately malfunctioned, and so he wasn't ready to carry through with that. An operative with the Democratic political group American Bridge was arrested last March for assaulting a female staffer in President Trump's administration. And apparently the operative allegedly shoved the woman, a press secretary for Interior Secretary Ryan Zink, to the floor. And apparently the same operative was arrested Tuesday for allegedly chasing and assaulting Nevada gubernatorial nominee Adam Laxalt's campaign manager. And we mentioned this yesterday. He was arrested and charged with battery in this attack, which left the woman, bruised. It was fairly serious here. There was the Republican Party office in Laramie, Wyoming, was set on fire just after opening. Last July, vandals threw a brick through the window of the Nebraska Republican Party's headquarters, and staffers found a spray-painted message beneath the broken window: abolish ICE. Minnesota State Representative Sarah Anderson said she was attacked on Sunday after calling out a man who was kicking over campaign signs, said, "You can't do this." And he said, "Yes, I can. I'm an anarchist. I can do whatever I want." And she said, "No, you can't. That's not your property." At which point the man told her to kill herself. Now, there's more of these. Okay, we had these 2 Minnesota GOP candidates who were attacked and punched. And by the way, the corporate media isn't covering this, but it is getting out on the independent media. And it's having an effect. It's having an effect, and I don't understand why the Democratic leadership doesn't understand the optics on this are very, very bad. And yet you have people like Hillary Clinton and Maxine Waters and Eric Holder are out there saying, yes, we've got to get in their face, we've got to confront them in the restaurants and so forth and so on. But the optics are really bad. And it is energizing the Republican base to get out there and vote. And it may overwhelm the expected Democratic gains, even with the illegal immigrants that the Democrats are counting on to put them over the top. Apparently, there was a situation in Houston, Texas, where this man was destroying Ted Cruz signs throughout an entire neighborhood, was just running down the street, pulling them up, and when he was confronted about it, said, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and finally wound up, I hate Ted Cruz, I hate Ted Cruz, I hate Ted Cruz. Well, again, I think people are looking at this and they're saying, are these the kind of people we want making our laws? And I think the answer is a resounding no. We want a more reasoned and civil mindset in the Congress. So I think this is definitely going to have an effect on the midterm elections here. Now, yesterday, the U.S. government indicted some leakers that were basically leaking information to the press. Yesterday, 40-year-old Natalie Mae Edwards, senior advisor to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, was arrested and criminally charged for leaking confidential financial documents relating to former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, the Russian embassy, to the media, the Russian embassy, and accused Russian spy Maria Butina. It turns out that she has close ties to Department of Justice lawyer Bruce Orr and one of Robert Mueller's teams, Andrew Weissman. So, very tight network there. Again, getting back to this topic of incivility bordering on violence. Well, it's crossed the line into violence here. Nancy Pelosi is out there saying, if there's collateral damage to people who don't share our views, well, so be it. And basically, she was talking with the New York Times' Paul Krugman, topics like immigration, and at one point appeared to have forgotten Justice Brett Kavanaugh's name, or maybe she couldn't bring herself to say it. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Over at Heidi Heitkamp's campaign, there has been a major faux pas. They ran an ad and they were focusing on sexual abuse survivors. And they made a major mistake in that they outed the names of sex assault survivors without getting their permission first. Now, the person behind the ad has been dismissed from the campaign, but it's backflashing on her rather seriously because one of the victims who were outed, Lexi Zorella, has basically come on out and said her life is destroyed. She was interviewed on CNN saying her life is never going to be the same. She hadn't really told anybody that she was this survivor, and now the damage is done. People know what she experienced, and she really didn't want to have to deal with all of that. She doesn't want to have to go around with the label of being a victim. So that was definitely a major, major whoopsie. But not as bad as Elizabeth Warren, who is still having to deal with the fallout from her DNA test. And again, I cannot understand why, with such a tiny, tiny number, she went public with it. I guess she actually thought having that 1,000th, possibility, and remember the DNA test said it was possible that she had a Native American ancestor 10 generations back. Didn't say definite, by the way. And remember, the irony of the test is there is a lack of authentic Native American DNA available in gene banks. The Native Americans don't like that. They feel they're being exploited. So the expert who did the DNA test used DNA samples from Mexico, Colombia, and Peru. So Elizabeth Warren may be 1/1000th Mexican, or 1/1000th Peruvian, or 1/1000th Colombian. That's how fuzzy this whole thing is. And she still went out with it and said, see, there, we put this whole thing to us. And it's just blown back, not just on her, but on all her supporters and basically the Democratic Party as a whole. So anyway, on Fox News, Tucker Carlson, they had a guest, Debbie White Dove Porreco, who is a documented descendant of the famed 17th century Powhatan princess Pocahontas. And she came on out saying that she felt betrayed by the senator's claims of Native American ancestry. Warren is now the head of the Me Too movement. And this descendant of Pocahontas said it proves she wasn't the Cherokee Indian she's been claiming to be for so long. It's simply too small an amount of DNA, and it doesn't indicate what tribe she would have belonged to. It could have been any tribe whatsoever. Could have been the Snoqualmies for all we know. And of course, Warren's been using this for political reasons and to get ahead. She got that cushy job at Harvard University using this. But payback is definitely going to be there. And Elizabeth Warren is now getting nicknames at a rate that is faster than black men are leaving the Democratic Party. Pocahontas, Hiawatha, last of the Mohicans, Fraudazuma, and Sacagawea. I like that last one myself, the absolute best there. And by the way, she has more Aryan DNA than Native American. She's more Aryan than Adolf Hitler was. And she's still trying to get out there and push this thing, saying, well, okay, so maybe I shouldn't have claimed citizenship with the Cherokee Nation, but I still have Native American ancestry. Elizabeth, you're raising on a busted flush. And she's still refusing to apologize. She's refusing to admit she did something wrong. And she just said, I should have been clearer about it, but I'm still right. I have Native American ancestry. Well, at that degree, Elizabeth, we all have Native American ancestry. Anybody whose family has been here in this country for a while has Native American DNA. I have Huron in my family woodpile. Okay? I'm not going to go up there and claim I belong to the Huron tribe. I mean, it really was ridiculous. And here's the thing. Elizabeth has opened up a huge, huge can of worms, because now people are looking into her family tree. And one of the pieces of so-called evidence that Elizabeth Warren had held up to prove she was Native American was that she claimed her great-great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee. Well, people went back and looked at the census and found that the great-great-great-grandmother was listed by the census as a white person. And here's where it gets delicious. Her husband, Elizabeth Warren's great-great-great-grandfather, Jonathan Crawford, was apparently a member of the Tennessee militia who rounded up the Cherokees from their homes and led them on the Trail of Tears. So you think about that one for a while. This is going to follow Elizabeth Warren for the rest of her political career. In fact, I don't know why she doesn't resign from politics right now. She's got that cushy teaching gig at Harvard still. I think Harvard ought to let her go after the lie that she foisted on them. But it's time for her to retire. It's time for her to retire. Okay, so let's go on over here to Claire McCaskill. As you're probably aware, Project Veritas sent in one of their undercover reporters to volunteer to work for McCaskill's campaign and got the other campaign workers to talk, caught it on tape, basically revealing that Claire McCaskill is lying to potential voters about issues like gun control and immigration. And it has been devastating to McCaskill's campaign. And McCaskill is now out there demanding that the Missouri Attorney General to basically recuse himself and appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Project Veritas. We have to investigate this. And of course, James O'Keefe over at Project Veritas is saying, you know, she's trying to basically criminalize legitimate news gathering, which is exactly what it was. McCaskill's people did say these things. They are on video. It is a well-documented and sourced story. All right. Getting on back to Anthony Weiner's laptop Judicial Watch has received 45 pages of FBI documents that reveal a significant number of 340,000 emails on the laptop of disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner were between the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her top aide Huma Abedin. Now, the reason this is important is because Judicial Watch has filed a Freedom of Information Act and a lawsuit requesting any emails involving Hillary Clinton to be turned over to them. And the Department of Justice is still refusing. They're still stonewalling. They want this to go away. They're hoping that the Democrats are going to take the House of Representatives in the midterm elections, and they'll just shut down all these pesky investigations. Well, they can't shut down Judicial Watch. That's the problem. Judicial Watch does not operate underneath congressional oversight. They're a private organization, and they're going to keep going. And they've been doing great, great work. So is Freedom Watch. We need to keep paying attention to them here. Now, last Friday in Washington, there was this very testy confrontation in a courtroom regarding this lawsuit over Hillary Clinton's private email server. And U.S. District Court Judge Royce Lamberth basically accused career State Department officials of lying and signing clearly false affidavits trying to derail the lawsuits seeking information about what was going on with that email server. And Lamberth said he was shocked and dumbfounded when he learned that the FBI had granted immunity to former Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills during its investigation into the use of the Clinton server. And according to a transcript of the hearing, Lamberth said, "I had myself found that Cheryl Mills had committed perjury and lied under oath. In a published opinion I had issued in a Judicial Watch case where I found her unworthy of belief, and I was quite shocked to find out she'd been given immunity by the Justice Department in the Hillary Clinton email case." So, obvious cover-up. Question is, what are they covering up? And I'm going to get on back to my favorite theory about what's going on here. Back in 1996, Bill Clinton, who was running for re-election, engaged in what came to be known as the Chinagate scandal, where, using his authority as president, he authorized the sale to China of highly sensitive technology with military application over the objections of the Defense Department and various intelligence agencies. And at the same time he did that, Chinese money poured into his re-election campaign. It was funneled through Chinese American citizens, people like Charlie Tree, to make it quasi-legal. But there was an investigation that was started, but it had to be called off when the White House email server suffered a breakdown, and oh gee golly, we hadn't been backing up all the emails. They're just gone. Nothing we can do about it. We've heard that story before. So what my theory here is, back in 2016, in the lead up to the election, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton may have been selling sensitive U.S. secrets to foreign interests using her private email server to deliver the information, and her so-called charitable foundation to collect and launder the money. And remember, almost half the money that came into that foundation came from foreign sources. And when Guccifer, the hacker, was talking about when he broke in to Hillary's email server and how easy it was to do, he saw at least 10 foreign IPs in there as well, prowling through the files. So I think it's a valid question. Was Hillary Clinton replaying the 1996 Chinagate scam? It's a question that should be asked, and it deserves an answer. And looking at how hard everybody is working to protect that story of the email server, there's definitely something very nasty in there they don't want the people of the United States to know. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Over at the White House, Don McGahn is now leaving as the White House counsel. He's going to be replaced by Emmett Flood, and at least for the interim. And this is coming out of Fox News here. And apparently McGahn resigned, announced yesterday, and he served as White House counsel to President Donald Trump and was obviously instrumental in implementing the administration's policies. All right, so let's get on over to the situation with Saudi Arabia and Khashoggi, because this is really beginning to stink and the optics on it are getting worse and worse. Donald Trump is now casting doubt on the existence of an audio of Jamal Khashoggi's last known minutes, saying he will ask for it, quote, if it exists, end quote, and refuses to say if the FBI will aid in a murder probe. Well, let's be technically accurate here. Khashoggi is not a U.S. citizen. The crime did not happen on U.S. soil. It would be inappropriate for the FBI to get involved at all. But this is quite a change from the tough talk only a few days ago, where Trump was out there saying there will be severe punishments, you know, if it turns out that Saudi Arabia killed this reporter. And So he's definitely backing up. Now, there's been a little complication. We're not sure if it actually means anything, but Turkey basically named this hit squad of 15 people that they are accusing of being the ones who actually did the torture and supposed murder and dismemberment of Khashoggi. And one of them was Mashal Saad al-Bastani, 31 years old. He's a lieutenant in the Saudi Royal Air Force. And apparently he has died in a car crash in Riyadh. Now, Turkey is saying the traffic accident is suspicious. Riyadh is saying it's just a car accident, and saying that his role in the Khashoggi situation was very much unclear. Now, here's an interesting legal complication. Remember the Magnitsky Act was a big stink about how Donald Trump Jr. was lured to a meeting with this Russian lawyer, and they tried to spin it as proof of Russia-Trump collusion. But what was really being discussed was the Magnitsky Act, which had been applied to Russian companies. Now, this Magnitsky Act was signed into law in 2012, was designed to punish Russia with sanctions over alleged human rights abuses. In 2016, it was expanded to the rest of the world. And it's a very controversial law. It's clearly a political weapon. It's not really having any effect on actual human rights abuses. But the law has international application. Well, in this case, the law should apply to Saudi Arabia. This abduction, torture, murder, dismemberment of Khashoggi is a clear incident meriting Magnitsky-type sanctions. But so far, we're not seeing a whole heck of a lot. Now, the only good news is that Khashoggi's death, disappearance, has accomplished what 50,000 Yemeni deaths could not. It has shown the world that the Saudis are a very brutal regime. So the optics on it are bad, and Saudi Arabia is trying to repair their PR image, if you will, and apparently they are working with Jared Kushner. And apparently Jared Kushner and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman are communicating through WhatsApp, and they're basically in crisis management mode, spin doctoring, trying to figure out how they're going to just make this all fade away. So it's all about the money. It's all about the money. If the U.S. hits Saudi Arabia with sanctions, the Saudis are going to cancel billions of dollars in military sales. They could drop the petrodollar deal. And that's the hammer right there. And so it looks like Washington, Riyadh, and Ankara are striking some kind of a deal to make this all go away. Oh, it was a terrible suicide. He accidentally walked into a tree shredder or something like that. But there have been ramifications, and a lot of those ramifications have to do with that upcoming Saudi Economic Summit, Davos in the desert. We're going to talk about that after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website, by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And as a matter of fact, we have a caller waiting on the line right now. We're going to talk with Mo in Florida. Aloha, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Aloha, Michael. I just try to stay on your subject line here. I think this, you've always been, preached that, look what should be there and isn't. And I don't think this Ben Solomon, he's either mad like Nero or something, he's mentally ill, which could be, or why would he shoot himself in the foot? This doesn't advance him. I think he was being set up by his brother, or whoever that other rival is. I don't know why. I know this guy's got an aggressive stance with Iran, and he's with the whole Yemeni war, but I think it's a setup. I mean, how can he be that stupid?
I agree with you that because it just doesn't make sense. If they wanted to grab this guy and torture him and kill him, they could have grabbed him off the streets and hustled him away to some abandoned warehouse and done it there. To actually do it in the consulate, that is the part of the story that really bothers me. And I'm in agreement with you. This may have been actually done by a rival for the throne. And there's a lot of hostility in the royal family towards Mohammed bin Salman. If you remember, when he became the crown prince, he grabbed a lot of the royal family, locked them in a hotel, and wouldn't let them out until they transferred much of their wealth to the Saudi treasury. And that kind of treatment, you make enemies. And so he's got a lot of enemies. And I don't think Mohammed bin Salman himself had anything to do with this. But I think you're right. It was somebody else within the royal family who's trying to create a political situation to bring him down.
Yep, but look how the media is running with it. They're not trying to cover it up. Not really. I mean, I think it's, they wouldn't have any problem blowing the whole plane up, Michael. The Khashoggi was flying on.
Yeah.
That guy was he was a Muslim Brotherhood dude. He went way back. He really wasn't a reporter. He's a CIA operative, like Bin Laden was.
He had spook written all over him.
Yeah. But anyways, I just, like you say, look for what should be there and isn't. And I don't see a motive with the prince unless he's just crazy, like I said, like Nero was crazy, or, drinking too much wine in lead vessels.
Yes.
I'll let you go. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, how much of world history was written because people were drinking out of lead goblets in ancient times here. Anyway, as we were talking about, there are repercussions to what happened to Khashoggi, and it has to do with the upcoming Saudi Economic Summit, Davos in the desert. The Dutch government has now canceled their trade mission to Saudi Arabia over this scandal. And basically they're saying all trade missions to the country have been suspended for now. And apparently U.S. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is canceling plans to attend the Saudi Arabia conference. But not everybody is on board with that because, after all, money talks, and the Saudis do have a great deal of it. So senior executives from major Western corporations will still attend Saudi Arabia's business forum, despite the growing scandal over Khashoggi. And apparently Goldman Sachs, Pepsi, Thales, and EDF senior executives are all expected to attend the forum. And according to this report, Mnuchin is going. So we're getting mixed signals on that one. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is going to be attending as well. Alrighty, Joe Biden is out there making the rounds. He's campaigning for the Democrats. And, of course, there's a lot of talk that he may throw his hat into the ring in 2020, at which point he'd better be very careful about traveling in small aircraft, because bad things happen to people who are challenging Hillary Clinton. You can ask John F. Kennedy Jr. about that next time you have a Ouija board out. But he's out there selling the idea that our elections are secure. And he's stating there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the American electoral process. And I have to call bovine excrement on that one. There is a tremendous amount of evidence of widespread voter fraud in the American election process. And a big part of the problem are those electronic election machines, which are opaque. You can't see into them to see what is going on. I mean, there have been a few embarrassing cases where people will push a button for one candidate, and it clearly is seen registering a vote for the other candidate, and it's always declared, oh, it's a miscalibration. Here's the bottom line. We don't know that our election system is honest. We have no way of knowing our election system is honest. It's not designed to be transparent anymore. It's designed to be opaque. And I keep thinking back to Bev Harris and blackboxvoting.org, and she got hold of a copy of what was called the GEMS software, which was what was hiding inside the voting machines made by the Diebold Company. Now, Diebold basically rose to prominence, making automated bank teller machines that never lost a penny from one end of the country to the other, and they all had a paper audit trail. Every time you used one of their machines, you could hear inside the box there was this little chattering printer that was printing out a record of the transaction. So for Diebold to have produced an election machine with at least 12 known ways to alter the outcome of a vote, it had to be intentional. And for those of you who have not yet seen it, there was an HBO documentary called Hacking Democracy. It focused on Bev Harris, and you need to see it. And I assume it's out there somewhere, probably Netflix, Hulu, it may even be on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'll try and hunt it down the next commercial break here. And in the last section of Hacking Democracy, and that is on YouTube, Bev Harris and her people, they go into this election commission in a city. They select an electronic voting machine at random. It is not touched by Bev Harris or any of her people other than to provide a memory card to record the vote. And they set up a faux election, and everybody votes, and when the final output is revealed, it's been changed. That's how easy it is to hack the outcome of an election. All you need is to get your hands on the memory cards. And I remember what was very telling in this documentary is that one of the people working for the Election Commission, this woman, literally broke into tears because she worked there thinking that she was giving a voice to the American voter, that she was there to protect the sanctity of the vote, and she had just literally had her worldview destroyed by being shown how easy it was to cheat these machines and thereby cheat the election. I still remember that debacle in Florida in 2000. And at this point, analysts have looked at all the available data and concluded that Al Gore did win that. But the Supreme Court gave it to George Bush. So Biden is out there trying to sell the idea there's no vote fraud. You can trust the outcome of the election. No, we can't. Of course we can't. That's ridiculous. We can't trust the outcome of the election. Okay. Yeah, the corporate media is still going on about the missing journalist. There's definitely another agenda behind there. And as that caller suggested, it may be the takedown of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, because there's a lot of people who do not like him, both inside and outside Saudi Arabia, and certainly within the Saudi royal family itself. If I recall correctly, Mohammed bin Salman actually had an older brother who was supposed to be next in line for the throne, but got passed over when King Salman declared Mohammed the crown prince. So I would be wondering if he's carrying a grudge. It's entirely possible. So let's get into the conflict zones. Boy, there's more and more conflict all around the world here. Up in Afghanistan, Afghan guards opened fire at a NATO meeting in Kandahar, injuring 2 Americans and killing the local police chief. And the attack took place apparently earlier today after Austin S. Miller, the NATO and U.S. Forces commander in Afghanistan, was meeting with Kandahar's governor and the provincial police chief, General Abdul Razik. Now, Razik was killed in the attack at the governor's office, while 2 U.S. citizens and several top Afghan officials, including the governor, were wounded. Now, General Miller was safely evacuated from the area after the incident. So that's becoming a real problem in Afghanistan, where the people you think are on your side start shooting at you. Now, here is a very chilling report. This is coming out of South Front. Apparently, there are now reports Israel is getting ready to challenge the S-300 in Syria. And apparently 2 F-15 warplanes of the U.S. coalition accidentally struck a unit of the Syrian Democratic Forces. Whoopsie, our people, sorry about that. They were involved in the SDF defense advance on ISIS in the Euphrates Valley. And despite initial claims by the Syrian Democratic Forces leadership that the terrorists in the area will soon be defeated, there are no signs that the operation will be finished in the near future. Again, getting further down in this article, it says Israel is getting ready to challenge the S-300 in Syria, which dovetails with this story coming out of Amasdar News, where Israeli warplanes are flying back and forth along the Lebanese-Syrian border. In fact, it's being described as a heavy Israeli air presence. And when Israel is going to go into Syria, they do it from Lebanon or along that border. No, we're not invading Lebanese airspace. We're not flying into Syrian airspace because our airplanes are incredibly thin and they just fit on that line on the map here. And apparently a U.S. drone has been spotted surveilling the new Syrian S-300 system. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now. Steve in West Virginia. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I got two quick things for you. They're both kind of questions for you. The first one is, why do you think that the mainstream media is not reporting anything on Crimea or Syria? I mean, you have to really look for the news on this stuff. Why? I mean, everything else seems to be, being reported, but those two things, Crimea and Syria.
Or they're not reporting Yemen either.
There's no coverage.
They're not really reporting any of the wars.
Well, yeah, that
right
too.
Now. We're coming up on the midterm elections. The wars are something the American people are not at all happy with. And the politicians, I'm sure, want Americans thinking about something else as they head to the polling places. And the reality is that what's going on in Yemen is a war crime. It's a humanitarian disaster for which the United States is partly responsible. We're not exactly winning in Syria. We're not exactly winning in Afghanistan. And that's something that the U.S. definitely does not want the American people thinking about.
Okay, the other thing is if you go on the Drudge and stuff now, they're really pushing this, widespread coverage on this caravan coming in. And, like the last one that came in with all these people coming from Honduras and stuff, it almost seems like it's fake. I mean, I know it's not fake, but it's the timing of it. There's something odd about it, Mike. It just doesn't make sense. They're really pushing it, and just how do all these people assemble and they come in right 30 days right before the midterms? There's just something doesn't make sense. I mean, it feels like a stage play to me.
It does feel very much organized. A lot of people are thinking George Soros is behind it. There's actually a video of somebody actually handing money to these Hondurans who are joining this migration, and it's now over 4,000 people. The Mexican police are going to try and stop them at the border with Guatemala, and Donald Trump is now saying that he may deploy the U.S. military to the border to turn them back. And so I can understand why Mexico wants to basically keep them in Guatemala, because if they get into Mexico and they cannot get into the U.S., they're going to stay in Mexico, and Mexico doesn't want to deal with them.
One last thing. Let's say they did get in the United States. I know they're kind of far away, but would they even have time to vote? I mean, if they could sneak in and theoretically, some way, but would they even have time to be able to vote? It just doesn't seem like there'd be much time.
It all depends on how the Democrats have set this up. I mean, they're out there openly admitting they're depending on illegal immigrants to vote them into control of Congress. There would already have to be voter registrations for all these people, because I think most of the deadlines to register to vote have already expired. Right. And there would have to be buses to take these Hondurans to the areas where that are slightly red in order to turn them slightly blue. And so it's going to be a large coordinated operation.
That seems like a lot of work.
Say again?
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work to get them scattered to all these different places where the races might be close, and it might make a difference for 1,000 here, 1,000 there to come in and vote. It just seems like it'd be really hard to do in the next 30 days.
They've been doing it all along. When the illegal immigrants get across the border, they're met by buses, which drive them to other parts of the United States in order to try and shift the demographics to Democrat.
Yeah, Mike. One last quick thing. It's take a second. The more and more I get the feeling Donald Trump is starting to feel like George Bush. I'm not kidding you. It just seems to feel like George Bush after he got into office for a while, and that's what Trump is starting to feel like to me.
I don't agree. I have to be very honest. Bush Sr. was definitely much sharper. Bush Jr. a little more so. Trump is he's a disappointment. That's all I can say. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Getting on back to the conflict zones here. Apparently, according to Russian authorities, ISIS has taken nearly 700 people hostage, including several European and U.S. nationals in Syria, and is vowing to kill 10 per day. And apparently these prisoners are being held somewhere south of the Euphrates River in the war-torn nation. And Russia is saying that ISIS is trying to expand its control in territory controlled by the U.S. and U.S.-backed forces, and blasted the United States for its catastrophic failure in Syria. And that last part is definitely accurate. Whether it's the overt reason that we were in Syria or the covert reason the U.S. was in Syria, it's been a failure. It is a failure. They blew this one. They don't want to admit it, and they're going to find reasons to stay in Syria just so they don't have to admit they utterly failed to get Assad out of power. 7 years the U.S. has been at war in Syria, and they keep changing the reason. Assad is gassing his people. We're there against ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Oh, we're back to ISIS. Assad is gassing his people. And now they're talking about pulling the U.S. troops out of Afghanistan, probably to be replaced by Erik Prince's private mercenary army, because they don't want to give up access to all that opium here. Now, apparently, Israel and the United States have sent a delegation to Ukraine to test the Russian-made S-300 missile defense system. Ukraine has one that is a little more modern than the system in Greece that the U.S. Evaluated before. And there are no comments on this from either Israel or the United States. But apparently members of the Ukrainian military instructed their U.S. and Israeli counterparts on the capabilities of the system, as well as running through various possible scenarios on how to evade and overcome it. Here is the problem. The version of the S-300 Ukraine has is not the version Syria has. The version Syria has had upgrades and is a little bit more modern. Right now, I would expect that the way that the U.S. and Israel are going to try and overwhelm and destroy the S-300 systems in Syria is to simply fire a ton of cruise missiles at them and empty the launchers, and then go in and destroy the launching systems before they can be reloaded. Because Russia did send a lot of extra missiles at no charge. The situation is going to be locating where those are, because they're mobile, except, of course, they have those radars. And radars give themselves away. So we may be seeing a big, big battle over Syria. But it's a gamble. It is a gamble. Because certainly the F-15s and F-16s that Israel are flying, there is no question they can be targeted by the S-300. The wild card is the F-35. Is it really as stealthy as advertised? Because if Syria succeeds in shooting down one of the Israeli F-35s, just one is all it's going to take, it will be devastating to Lockheed Martin's future sales of that aircraft to other countries. Okay, we're going to take a break for station identification, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. more. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And this is hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. So the world is clearly going through a significant period of change. We are seeing a lot of nations which used to be considered U.S. friends, if not complete allies, start to pivot away, pivot toward Russia, pivot toward China here. And there's an article in the Jerusalem Post which really lays it out. Are Trump's policies leading to the formation of an Eastern Bloc? And what they're basically saying is that there are all these countries that are in the crosshairs of the United States that, despite their own differences, are starting to band together and develop strong relationships. Now, the headline is misleading. These are not Donald Trump's policies. This started a long time before he got into that Oval Office. It goes back, well, at least the 17 years since we started the wars on Afghanistan, and probably even before that. But yeah, at some point, as the United States becomes more abusive and aggressive, the rest of the world is going to start pulling together to basically offset that. Now, over in Russia, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is saying that Moscow is ready for larger scale provocations by the West. And he's saying that if they talk to us through the media, we'll respond through the media too, but specifically and in a correct manner. And he said a third world war is an unimaginable scenario, saying that everyone would be sane enough not to let it happen. I wouldn't count on that one, Sergei. However, he says an aggravating factor is the absence of any dialogue between the Russian military and NATO. And again, my concern is there's a new factor in the new Cold War, and that is how many of these weapon systems are automated. They're running on computers. And computers, if there are errors in the code, make mistakes. And it has happened before. That was the reason behind the USS Vincennes shoot-down of the Iranian passenger jet. The computers controlling the Aegis system on the ship, because of a programming error, assigned the same target tracking identifier to two different radar returns. One was the Iranian passenger jet, which was on approach to land at the airport. The other was an Iranian F-14 on a training exercise in the distance. And the computers merged the two and thought the passenger plane was an attacking F-14 and launched the missile. And these things can happen so fast, humans will not be able to intervene. I suspect that's what happened with the accidental shoot-down of TWA 300, off of Long Island, New York. They were testing the Aegis CEC system. They had an incoming drone that was going to be the target. They were painting the drone with the targeting radar without realizing they were also painting in the distance the 747. The missile came out of the tube, turned on the wrong target, and killed the plane before anybody could react. And that is making things very, very difficult. Very dangerous, rather. Very, very dangerous. You might have everybody saying it's a Cold War, it's just all about making the money, it's all about selling weapons, and we're never really going to push the button. But you have to consider the button could push itself, and things could get out of control and nobody could stop it. That's how serious it is. Okay, we got another caller on the line. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I just turned you on. Just got home. Let me just turn this down. Hold up. I don't know if you heard today that Putin gave a speech and said that basically they're prepared, that, they don't want war. They will never start a nuclear confrontation, but they're prepared that the minute they're monitoring missiles from around the world, and the minute anything's headed towards Russia, Russia will respond. And he even gave a religious thing. He said Russia's on the, the Russians would go to heaven and something like that, and would die as
the
martyrs.
Russians would go to heaven as martyrs, and the aggressors would go to the other place.
Right. So, I mean, he's laying the cards down. Basically, people should start waking up, hopefully, and say, why are we doing this? Why are we pushing them and pushing them? You're not gonna wipe out. You might wipe out Russia, but they're gonna wipe us out too, and they're gonna wipe out the rest of the Western world, and probably the whole planet with it. When are people gonna get this through their heads? I mean, this is absolutely madness. Even these people with the bunkers, what do they think? If the bunker would even, if they could even survive in those bunkers, what are they going to come out to? What kind of a world do they think they're going to come out to afterwards?
Well, I'm sure they're imagining they're going to come out to a beautiful world of nature and beauty and everything, but they could come out to an absolutely dead planet. The entire chain of life could collapse.
I think roaches and maybe rats can survive something like that.
Yes.
The rat is a very hardy animal. The rat might be able to survive. Probably eventually, with, I don't know, if you believe in evolution, they might evolve into something, maybe millions of years from now, into some kind of really, man-like, but basically that'd be pretty much it. I mean, this would, like you said, this would be a dead planet. I just can't figure these people out. I really believe they're insane. And I'm talking about our leadership. Putin is trying everything he can to stop this from happening. But it just goes on. And it's hard for me to get, interested in all the nonsense about this, so-and-so say this, and so-and-so say that anymore. Because this is number one. This is the possibility that, I've got children, I've got grandchildren. Grandkids are about, one is just born a year ago, and the other one is 4 years old. And I want them to have something, to inherit this planet. I don't want a dead planet for them, or it's just, people got to start thinking. I mean, at least in the Cold War, people did think. Thank God they did. And like you said about it, a mistake. He said they're monitoring missiles from all over the place. You could have a computer, some kind of a computer mistake, and that's trigger off the war right there. That's what in a Terminator. That's what happened with what was Skynet? Yes. Skynet actually started the war between the U.S. and Russia with the nuclear exchange. That could happen. We're relying more and more on AI. I wish we would start curbing. I wish we would get together with Russia, China, and other countries and start to forget about the AI. Get rid of it. One thing I disagree with you about Tesla. Tesla should go down because because the cars they're coming up with, these driverless cars, these things are not only dangerous, they're controlling. They want to control you with those cars. You could program where you want to go, and a car will tell you, no, you can't go there. There's a lot of there's a lot of hanky-panky involved there, too. We need to get away from some of this AI, not, get more of it.
Well,
that's not all I got to say, Mike. I don't know what...
We need to develop the technology a little bit further, because the current problem with AI is AI today is simply defined as any computer program that is able to teach itself from past experience. But there have been a couple of examples where the AIs are learning the wrong thing. And there was that embarrassment where I think it was Amazon had an AI recruitment system which had been trained with 10 years of resumes, and because the resumes were overwhelmingly male, started automatically discounting female job applicants. And so that's an issue. AIs can learn the wrong thing. I notice around here in Hawaii, the Weather Channel, which uses Watson, which is IBM's AI system, it borders on useless. I get more accurate weather forecasts just looking at the weather satellite images for myself.
Yeah, well, like you said, Mike, we got to do something, because, and we certainly should not have. At least we should get together with Russia and China and say, look, at least let's stop letting computers run these missile systems. Let's at least make sure it would take. Let's have some kind of an agreement where at least human beings are in charge of this before something happens that we can. And it almost happened during the Cold War, when we didn't even rely that much on computers as we do now.
Yeah, there were a couple of incidents where electronic failure sent out a false alarm, and fortunately there was this one commander who was in charge of a missile brigade who said, "This cannot be right, and I'm not obeying this light until I get a verbal confirmation." And but again, the problem is worse now. Now I'm as far as I know, because I'm not privy to the nuclear protocols here, the nuclear missiles are still under human control. Somebody has to turn a key in a silo or in an aircraft or in a submarine. But I'm talking about the medium weapons, which are on automated systems. Those could get going and start a confrontation, and it could escalate from there.
Sure. Once the first one starts, all bets are off.
Yep.
That could be it. That could be the end, right? It's the end of mankind. Maybe the end of this planet. That's how serious this thing is.
Yes.
And people are worried about, I don't know, Stormy Daniels or some other nonsense.
I'm not worried about Stormy Daniels. I just wish you'd go away. I think part of the problem here, of course, is that for our generation, the idea of total war, like you see in a world war, and the idea of nuclear weapons, it's an abstraction. It's something we see in TV documentaries. We've never personally experienced it for the most part. I know there are still some surviving veterans from World War II who remember what that was like. But for the vast majority of us, it's something we see on TV. We don't have to deal with it in a real way. And I think that's one of the reasons why people aren't really responding to just how serious the situation is, because it is an abstraction.
You'd think the Europeans would understand. I mean, they were literally destroyed in World War II. Most of the European countries, Western and Eastern European countries, were, for all intents and purposes, destroyed. You'd think they'd understand it.
They're a lot more sensitive to the idea of avoiding a third world war, especially because if it does start with Russia and Ukraine, it's going to be on their territory again. I remember when I was working in Europe back in the 1980s, there were still places that had not yet been rebuilt from World War II. You could still see the damage there. I remember in, I think it was Milan, there's an entire city block that's simply walled off because there's this huge bomb that's in there that they can't get at and can't defuse, and they're just not going to let anybody go in there. And at some point, it'll either detonate or they'll decide that it's too old to detonate and they'll go on in there. But yeah, World War II is a very real thing for the people of Europe, not to mention Japan, and obviously. Here in the United States, we never suffered any harm from World War II. The Japanese set a couple of forest fires up in the Pacific Northwest with some clever balloon bombs, and there were some cargo ships that were sunk within eyesight of the East Coast, but that was about it. We didn't have bombs falling on us. We didn't have an army invading our country. We didn't have to go through that. And so I think that's why Americans, by and large, they don't have a gut reaction to what could be going on here.
We certainly did in our time, Mike. I'll tell you this, we certainly understood when we went into those shelters, and we went there, and when we had those silly drills there at school, you know, hiding under the desk like that would have been. And I when I was in the Army, when part of basic training was what to do in case of a nuclear attack and cover yourself up with a poncho. Everybody knew that there was total nonsense. What do you do in the case of a nuclear attack? Was put your head between your legs and you know what, right?
Yeah, kiss your rear end goodbye here. Well, that whole thing about duck and cover and get under the desk and pull a picnic cloth over your head, Bert the Turtle, that whole thing, was actually a propaganda campaign. Because coming out of World War II, there were a lot of people who said, we should get rid of these weapons. Nobody should have them. They are too destructive. And if there were a nuclear world war, nobody would survive. And so the U.S. government launched this propaganda campaign to convince us all that, yes, nuclear war was survivable, and you should be afraid of those gosh darn commies here. But let us go on making nuclear weapons because, you know, you will probably be able to survive a nuclear attack. And back then they had shelters, fallout shelters, and which we no longer have those even. Russia's built fallout shelters for their people. The U.S.
They have, yeah.
Yeah. The whole Moscow subway system is designed to survive a nuclear attack.
I remember growing up in New York City. There were certain stations in New York at that time. I don't know if it's still that they said you could survive a nuclear attack. Whether it was true or not, I certainly wouldn't have wanted to find out. 181st Street line. I don't know if you've ever been to New York. There's the A train, and by the 181st, it goes very deep into the ground and stuff. But I certainly wouldn't have wanted to give it a try, you know. I certainly didn't trust it, you know, even when I, you know, as a teenager. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Well, again, back during the Cold War, when the U.S. did have fallout shelters in every major city, it wasn't just the shelters. They were stockpiled with storable food and water and first aid kits, you know, basically the preppers of their day. But the U.S. stopped doing that because it was a huge expense. And those rooms, those bunkers may still be there, but they're not really going to be usable.
No, any of that food that they might have there would probably be long.
Oh, it's long gone, long rotted away.
Oh well. Anyway, Mike, I pray that, you know, the level heads to prevail, you know, and unfortunately, I don't have much faith in Donald Trump. I don't think he knows what he's doing. Plain and simple, he's letting the very people he ran against wind up taking over the deep state or the military-industrial complex, whatever you want to call them. And I just don't. I think, you know, they've got a hold of the guy, whether he lied to us in the first place or he just plain and simple didn't know what he was doing, or was too naive, and then just I knew he was in trouble the minute he let Flynn go. The minute they went, because that's the one they wanted. That's the one they wanted the most right off the bat is Flynn, because Flynn knew where the bodies are buried. Yep. He understood that this government was supplying Al Qaeda and ISIS and all that. He knew all about that stuff. He still does. And that's what they were afraid of. What Trump should do is pardon the man immediately and hire him back into the White House and start to clean up this bad situation. But he won't do that. He's afraid. I don't know whether he's afraid or he's just too dumb. I really don't know what the thing is, but I have very little faith in the man. What he really should do is probably talk to Putin, call out that red phone if they still got a red phone like that, and have a conversation with him. What will Putin do? What did he do when he first took over Russia? How did he take control of get these oligarchs under control? How did he get his own deep state under control? That's what he should be doing. You know,
Well,
But he's not.
I agree. I agree. But every time there's talk of a Trump-Putin summit, everybody around Trump says, no, 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 bad idea, and Trump will back down.
Fire him.
He's showing himself to be a very, very weak leader. Anyway, listen, Mark, we got to let you go. Got to take a break here for commercials. Got to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who have rejoined our network, and we'll be back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read a few from Amazon.com. Dr. Sam Serino reviewed the Extendivite product. Good ingredients, feeling much better since taking product. It seems that the tablets work well. Once again, thank you for your product. My acid reflux has really improved thanks to the Extendivite. Together with my thumb joints, the pain is gone and I'm able to grip things much better. My friend has peripheral arterial disorder and their lower legs were hurting in a red color, but thankfully, there has been a significant improvement. Kind regards, Janice. My husband feels a big difference using Extendivite. Thank you. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here and getting on back to the conflict areas here. Once again, the United States has flown B-52 bombers over the South China Sea. And this is just before this Asian summit is supposed to be taking place. So it's definitely a provocation. And it could inflame tensions ahead of a key regional defense summit in Singapore, where the U.S. and Chinese defense ministers are slated to meet. And again, it is called the South China Sea. And again, at the end of World War II, when Japan was forced to surrender all of the territories they had conquered. It included those islands, which prior to World War II had been seen as Chinese territory. And there was this agreement among the Allies called the Cairo Convention that said, yes, these islands go back to the ownership of China. So that's where we are on this situation. And it is inflaming tensions with China, along, of course, with the tariff wars, weapons to Taiwan. And it's getting tense out there. Now, here is an interesting little story. Apparently, and this illustrates just how thin our military stockpiles have become. Apparently, there was an incident where the Air Force had to steal parts from one RC-135 to get another airborne to spy on a missile launch. Now, the RC-135 is a spy plane. It's a converted Boeing 707. And apparently, the one that they had assigned to watch this missile launch had a malfunction. And they didn't have the parts on hand to fix it. So they literally had to strip parts off of another aircraft. And there's a lot of that going on where the polite term for it is cannibalization of the aircraft. China has unveiled their next generation stealth bomber, or they will officially next year during their annual military parade. But photos of it are already out. It's a sleek looking little bird. And it's called the Hong-20. And it's a long range stealth bomber, and it's undergoing flight trials. Putin is now talking about Russia's new weapons, and he's talking about the Avangard, which is their hypersonic glider warhead. And apparently they'll be entering military service in just a matter of months. And Russia is the first in the world to get this breakthrough technology into actual service. Now, the hypersonic glider is a type of projectile that can fly and maneuver in the upper atmosphere at speeds of over Mach 5. This makes them very difficult to intercept. And remember what I said, right now, the United States' current anti-ballistic missile doctrine is based on a predictable ballistic trajectory of the warhead. And the Avangard doesn't do that. It weaves back and forth. It goes up and down, it corkscrews, it dipsy doodles. So they're actually out there, and that is going to dramatically change the strategic landscape, as it were. Okay, Nikki Haley is out there. She's coming up on her the end of her stint at the United Nations. Apparently, she's starting to give interviews, in one of which she admitted she was meeting with Henry Kissinger every 2 months to get his input on the world. And she's still running around saying that Palestine is not a state at all. The United States refuses to recognize Palestine. Quite a few other nations already have. But if the U.S. doesn't recognize it, then it's not a state, and that's just the way it is. So Nikki Haley may be looking at throwing her hat in the ring in 2020. Apparently, she's been speaking to the Council for National Policy, which is a neocon group, and they're going to love her. She's the warmonger's warmonger, and the CNP has a reputation for anointing Republican presidents. Donald Trump and George W. Bush both spoke in front of the CNP before hitting the campaign trail, and Trump appointed several members of the CNP to his cabinet in gratitude, including Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway. So Haley may be getting ready to test the presidential waters in 2020. I don't like her warmongering, but I'll take Nikki Haley over Hillary Clinton any day. Okay, down in Israel, Avigdor Lieberman has now halted the delivery of Qatar's $60 million oil flow to the Gaza Strip. The fuel tankers began delivering the much-needed diesel oil to the Gaza Strip, and Avigdor Lieberman halted the shipments in retaliation for Gaza's protests on the border with Israel. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened? What's really
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And we have a caller waiting on the line. Jim in New York, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. Well, first, before I get to my main topic, Facebook, they said they're going to use some people to monitor facts. According to them, the people they're going to use is the Associated Press, FactCheck.org, PolitiFact, Snopes, and ready for this? The Weekly Standard. So they throw in a neocon warmonger magazine for the war agenda.
Yes.
Notice that?
Yep.
But, you know, my main topic I was going to talk about actually died down, but like 6 months ago, a year ago, everything was talking about Muslim crimes. And don't get me wrong. We should stop immigration from every...
No, you don't.
You see what I mean? Don't get me wrong. You know, you should protect your culture and your borders and all that. I get that. But we have to be careful because some of these sites, the popular person who I won't name, like 6 months ago, like every article was about Muslim rapes woman, Muslim kills. But when a Christian does it, do you ever see the title Christian kills 2 people in robbery? You know what I mean? Where's the logic? Eh?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, of course, Europe has far more Muslims. And what are the Muslims in America? Are they 2% of the population?
Something like that. Something like that. They're not a strong presence here. There are definitely a lot more in Europe. They're flooding into Europe because of that open border policy.
But I don't think it's a religious thing. I think it's, well, it's, you know, again, in Mexico, look at the drug wars. 40,000 killed, and most of them were killed by people who were brought up Catholic.
Yep.
Right? But you see the neocon sites like, well, I won't name them, but the alt-right neocon sites, it's always Muslim commits crime. But they'll never say, quote, Christian commits crime. So illogical. You know, and they're using it for the war agenda because it looks like the next people on the dock are Syria and Iran, who happen to be Muslim countries.
Well, you know, you have to remember, of course, that the corporate media is definitely dominated by a heavy Jewish presence, and their agenda is to get all the Christians hating all the Muslims.
Yes, absolutely. And that Pamela Geller, I don't know who she's working for, but she obviously has an agenda just to create unnecessary strife. I mean, what happened from 40 years ago? I mean, we got along with them, quote, Muslims fairly well. What's changed? Well, we know what's changed. The neocon agenda.
Very much so.
But, yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. And, you know, everything's Muslims. I mean, the alt-right, they act like, you know, like there's like such a and most Muslims that I've come into contact with in the U.S., they're secular. They're, you know, they go to, I don't even know if they go to mosque. It's the same way, you know, I was brought up Catholic, but, you know, I don't go to church.
Well, unfortunately, the situation in Europe is that a lot of the Muslims that are coming in from the Middle Eastern countries, they're strongly religious, they're fanatically religious, and they're not integrating very well, and that's leading to conflict. And there have been some ugly incidents.
I think the Muslims doing the terrorism are probably all working for the intelligence agencies.
On that one, I would definitely agree.
Well, that's all I had to say. Thank you very much, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot here, and we're going to switch to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Your last caller had a lot of good things to say. You know, we're the only species on this planet that I'm aware of that treat our fellow kind with such ill repute. I mean, we're awful. It's a testament to just how de-evolved we actually are. You know, we like to tout ourselves as the masters of the universe. We are the dominant species on this planet. That doesn't say a lot, considering how we treat each other. Does it, Mike?
No, but, you know, again, pardon me, a lot of it's instinctive because if you look at some of the other species of ape, like chimpanzees, they can be very cruel to each other as well, and oftentimes for no visible reason.
Yeah, you know what? You're actually right. But, you know, if you believe, you know, if one believes in Darwinism, then that's where we came from. So it's not hard to, you know, see the correlation between us and them.
Yep.
But, you know, this thing that's going on in the Middle East, in what used to be called Palestine, which you can't even find on a Google map anymore, this is just disgraceful. I mean, this has gone too far now. It's gone too far. So, you know, now they're going to what? They're going to, like, shut that place down. They're not even going to allow them fuel. The water is if I'm correct, the water is metered, right? They only get so much of this and so much of that, and now they're starting to cut things off. We're in the end game of this situation, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not even on mainstream.
Yeah, Gaza was running out of fuel, and the UN purchased $60 million worth from Qatar. Qatar started making the deliveries, and Avigdor Lieberman has now blockaded the shipments to punish the Gazans for daring to protest at how Israel is treating them. And a lot of people are saying this is only going to aggravate the security situation, which is what I think Lieberman actually wants.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. In what other club are you aware of, Mike, where you can do all of these things that go against the rules of the club and get away with it? And I'm speaking of the UN, but you probably knew.
The UN is basically toothless. As long as the U.S. has a veto over the Security Council, basically that gives Israel a veto over the Security Council. And there's no doubting that Israel has played the politics game very, very well. And they've co-opted a number of countries, a number of governments around the world, including our own. But I keep thinking back to a quote by Gandhi about tyrants, how they can seem invincible for a while, but they always fall. And I think that's ultimately going to be true both of the United States and of Israel. No empire lasts forever. Rome fell, Alexander fell, the Soviet Union fell. I think the United States is heading for a fall. And I think Israel is eventually going to self-destruct.
Well, it's kind of pointing in that direction. But, you know, once again, like the human race, we put up these constraints in order to confine people to certain the categories. We categorize everything. You're this and you're that and blah blah blah. And pretty soon you have all these boxes where a bunch of people are, right? And it's all designed to do the same thing: to confine us, to segregate us, and ultimately to conquer us, divide and conquer.
Yep.
The smaller the population, the easier it is to control. And the rich people have done this. And once again, like you always say, it always comes down to one very simple thing. That bartering system, that lubrication that we use to exchange goods. Some people call it money, currency, whatever. It is that.
Yep.
It's always that, and it will always be that until we say we're not going to do that anymore.
Well, unfortunately, money is addicting, and a lot of the ills of the world are caused by people who have a desire for wealth beyond what they need to live comfortably. And it is a sickness, and we need to recognize that it is a sickness when people are out there who, like you see on Wall Street, all the bank fraud that's going on. They have a desire for wealth beyond what they need to live comfortably.
You just had it right there. Gambling is a sickness.
Yes.
Alcoholism is a sickness.
Yep.
But the love of money is not really classified as, some kind of psychological sickness. I mean, being too right-wing or being too this or being too that could be misconstrued as some kind of mental sickness. But the love of money is never. Isn't that funny?
Well, it's because people who've got a lot of money look good. We look up to them, which is like a big problem we have in our culture right now is young people will look up to the drug dealers because they've got the fancy cars and the fancy clothes. And in our status-oriented society, we sort of are encouraged to look at people like that as somehow being good no matter how they got that wealth, whether it's dealing heroin or cheating a bank system. We admire people with money and really can't see that their ostentatious wealth does represent money addiction. They're money junkies.
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite presidents of the United States, John F. Kennedy, his daddy.
Yes.
He was a rum runner.
Yep.
So there you go, right? And I hope things change soon. I don't see it happening though, Mike.
I think we're headed for
one
some
direction.
very, very dark
And it's
times.
self-destruction.
We're headed for some dark times. There's no doubt about it. We just have to be prepared to deal with them. Anyway, listen, I've got other callers waiting on the line, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for the phone call. Let's switch over to Jim in Chicago. Jim, thank you for waiting so patiently, and what's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Michael, I really don't think Saudi Arabia is stupid. I know you had a caller that stated, why would they do what they did in Turkey? And I said to myself, the reason they are able to do it because they know that they can do whatever they want, no matter if it's good, bad, or evil, because they realize the majority of the world, they depend on their oil, and Saudi Arabia has interests around the world, and they own a lot of politicians, including Trump and other politicians in the past. So they feel like whatever we do, the world might be angry, but they aren't going to boycott us. They need us more than we need them.
I'm not buying that. I think that there is an attempted coup against Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and that this incident with the journalist was intended to put pressure on him to resign. And it doesn't look like it's going to work, of course. But I don't care how arrogant Saudi Arabia gets. They're not going to do this inside the consulate. They're going to take this guy out to an empty warehouse someplace, and they're going to do the nasty deeds there. I mean, look at Israel. They're just as arrogant as Saudi Arabia, but they tend to be very covert about this kind of operation. They would never do it inside one of their consulates or embassies.
Well, tell me this then. Do you see any country boycotting Saudi Arabia or really going after them?
Not yet.
I don't think it's going to happen, Michael. I really don't.
Well, I noticed Trump is all of a sudden back to talking tough about Saudi Arabia, saying that there will be a harsh punishment. So unfortunately, he's flip-flopping on this back and forth. And it may be because the pollsters are finding out the American people are convinced Khashoggi is dead, that he died horribly, and they're seeing Trump as being very weak on Saudi Arabia. So everybody's playing politics with this right now.
Well, if you look at Trump's background, he has businesses in Saudi Arabia. And not only that, back in the 80s when he was in trouble financially, they bailed him out.
Yeah, a lot of people bail Trump out. The billionaires look after each other.
Right, and plus you have a lot of Saudis that own condos in Trump Towers, and since Trump has become president, the Saudis have given Trump Towers in Chicago and in Washington, D.C. over $500 million. Over $500,000.
Well, that money is being turned over to charity by the Trump organization, as I understand it.
Well, I would like to know what charities are getting that money then.
Well, I don't know off the top of my head. But because of the ban on emoluments, the foreigners who have places in the Trump properties, the money collected from them is being given to charity.
Well, I would like to see the documents on that to find out what charities are getting that money. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I would like to see the documents.
Well, the point is
Trump
Trump and the Trump organization are not keeping the money coming in from the Saudi Arabians.
Hopefully. So, all right, I'm going to let you go on that note. You take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Jim, and we're going to go to Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Thank you for waiting patiently. We're probably going to have to take you through this next commercial break, but what is on your mind?
Well, I totally agree with you on this killing of the Saudi journalist. I think that this is deep state. I'm watching TV, and there's all the neocons and the rhinos. They're all saying, "Well, we have to be tough." You know, there's Pence and just now saying, "Oh, we got to get to the bottom of this." And there's Graham and there's Rubio, the whole cast of characters. And it's a win-win for the deep state. I mean, they don't like this guy that's over there running Saudi Arabia. It makes Trump look weak. It gives them what they want as far as weakening the Saudis.
Joe, I'm going to have to put you on hold. Don't hang up the phone. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. And I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Joe in Tennessee, and we're still talking about the ramifications of the abduction and quite likely death of Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Anyway, Joe, just sort of pick up where you left off.
Well, I mean, it's almost like I wish McCain was still alive just to watch him jumping up and down and giving the neocon spin on what to do here, because I'm sure he'd be parroting what Lindsey Graham's saying and Pence is saying and Rubio's saying. It's kind of another example of how these people don't realize how people that are red pill really can see their game now. Their game is blown. Just by, you can tell that this is a Bush CIA deep state operation just by the people that are on TV demanding that we do something, demanding that we punish the Saudis. That tells me that this guy that's in charge of Saudi Arabia, he's not the Bush's puppet that they had in there before. And they're trying to get rid of him, just like you said earlier. This is very transparent, and it surprises me that a lot of people...
Back up here a little tiny bit here. There is absolutely no doubt that politicians in this country and probably around the world are trying to take advantage of this incident to push their own particular agenda. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're behind it. Again, we're talking about being inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, which is why I think we're looking at an internal attempt at a coup by the Saudi royal family. And I understand that the Saudi consul has resigned his position and left the country already. He's back in Riyadh. So I really do think the most likely suspect is going to be another member of the royal family who's behind this. But again, everybody's taking advantage of it to push whatever their agenda is. What is really reckless is that we are dependent on Saudi oil to a certain extent. We're certainly dependent on them sticking with the petrodollar deal. Saudi Arabia, if they get pushed to the edge, are capable of inflicting a world of hurt on the United States if the United States tries to inflict a world of hurt on them.
Well, I don't think that's going to get to that far. I think Trump's smart enough, and I think Pompeo's smart enough. I have a lot of faith in Pompeo, but they do want that. They want to bring this guy down. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think it'll get, no matter what happens, I don't think it'll get that far, but it is an attempt on the Crown Prince, no doubt. And, he's got a lot of powerful enemies, those guys that he had locked up in the Ritz-Carlton there. And then you got the Bush family. I forgot that one guy that used to be, the Bushes considered him a member of their family. So there's definitely a huge deep state anti-Trump group, ex-CIA and Saudis that the new Crown Prince is going against. So this is them probably striking back, and we'll see where it all ends up. But to me, the most interesting thing is watching these neocons expose themselves again. And it's really, like I said, once you're red pilled, it's just so obvious.
Yeah, but we can't be thinking about war against Saudi Arabia, but somebody probably is. Anyway, listen, Joe, got to let you go. Got to take a break for station identification. We have more callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsite.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And let's go to the phone lines, starting with Mark in Montana. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. I'm the oil field guy that I called you last week, I believe, from West Texas. That's where I work, and then I go home to Montana. I want to talk about the censorship that's going on right now in the media, specifically Facebook. I was one of the guys that got purged. I had 2 accounts. I had a couple thousand followers. The first account was purged specifically because I posted a link to an Infowars.com article about the fraud that's going on in Texas, where they caught the Democrats registering dead people, and they talked to some of these people in the old folks' home. The old folks said they never were registered, and all that. So I was purged for that for the first one. The second, and when I say purge, they deleted everything. I don't exist on that account anymore. The second one, which was kind of a personal account, I travel a lot, so I put up some cool videos of my travels in New York and some of the oil field stuff that I do, and they purged that one, and there was really they didn't give me a reason. It was just purged. It said for violations of terms of service. Nothing specific. They just proofed it. So I went back and created a new account, but I'm going to make it a lot smaller, and I guess I'll be a lot less politically active. I find this disgusting.
Yes.
I'm calling this the online crystal knot, or the digital crystal knot, because that's what it is. I think they're going around and throwing rocks through their digital enemies' windows. There's a lawsuit now pending, and it's supposedly going to go in front of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Concerning this, so we'll see what happens with that. I believe it was a class action. I found one site that said it was class action. I added my name to it. I'm probably going to get scammed with a bunch of crap now. I don't really want any money. I want my accounts back. I'm not even sure if that's possible for them to do. This is disgusting. I mean, it really is disgusting. I'm just shocked that they do. It's not like I'm real controversial. I mean, a lot of my political beliefs are. But it's not that I'm getting on there and I'm hurling insults at people or calling them foul names or insulting their mothers or father, anything like that. In fact, it's just the opposite. I catch a lot of flack like that in return. I just ignore it. But it's disgusting. I can't believe that in America, in this day and age, that the people are not up in arms, and especially the left. The left has always claimed to be the guardians of freedom and the minions and that stand up for freedom and freedom of speech and freedom of this, that, and the other, and they're the ones pushing it. So
absolutely, no question about it. They want freedom of speech for anybody who agrees with them, and everybody else should just sit down and shut up. We got that from
Marx.
We got that from Hazy, our senator. Was during that whole Kavanaugh hearings. Just you men should just shut up.
No, I'm actually a libertarian. I flew home from West Texas to Montana, where I live, and that's no easy prospect, and it's not cheap. And I went home specifically just to cast my ballot. I crossed the lines, and I voted mostly Republican. because of the shoddy way that they treated Kavanaugh and the crap that they're doing in the campaign up there. Montana's kind of under the microscope right now. We've had three visits now. In fact, Donald Trump's up there right now, currently speaking in Missoula. And then his son has come up there quite a bit. So Ryan has been up there a couple of times too. So we're getting a lot of attention because we have a senator by the name of Tester that's unpopular. He was the deciding vote on the Obamacare fiasco, and he's got a very conservative Montanan running against him. He's going to lose. So we're kind of under the gun. It's very important. And we're a small state. You got 1 million people, and, every vote really does count up there. So.
Okay.
Thought I'd toss that in. Oh, and one other thing.
Yeah.
We are not dependent on Saudi Arabian oil.
Well, the fact of the matter is that the United States has been building up its oil production capacity to rival Saudi Arabia. But we're dependent in Saudi Arabian oil on one specific aspect, in that it is sold around the world for the U.S. dollar. And if this Khashoggi situation escalates, Saudi Arabia could simply say, we're going to drop the petrodollar deal and we're going to sell our oil for whatever currencies the purchasing nations want to use, whether it's the yuan or the ruble or whatever. And that would be a major body blow to our economy.
Yeah, I was actually present in Alaska when the first supertanker load of oil went out that was exported and actually went to South Korea.
Yes.
We have the infrastructure. You wouldn't believe, someday if you ever get a chance and you get the money and you want to come to West Texas, I will take you on a tour that will boggle your mind. You have no idea of you don't stand still too long down here because somebody will Shanghai you and put you to work. They're that short-handed. And these are not low-paying jobs. You're not making minimum wage. There's nobody out here that makes less than $100,000 a year.
Wow.
And most people like me,
I'm in the wrong
because
line
there's no housing here. I work. I'm telling you, I'm a trained archaeologist. You see what I'm doing for a living, but I actually fly down here and I do 2 weeks and live in a little bunkhouse, and then I go home for a week just to get out of it. You couldn't afford to live here if you had to have a house here, but it's unbelievable, the infrastructure that's being built right now. There's new oil discoveries, almost every year, every couple of years here in West Texas, in the Permian Basin, and it's just blowing and going. We are energy independent right now. If somebody overseas wanted to shut the spigot off, start blowing up these super tankers coming into the Gulf of Mexico, that's fine by me because it's going to continue to flow here. So I'll let you go, Michael. I really appreciate you taking my call. I'll keep you updated on what's going on out here, and hopefully Zuckerberg will end up in prison in a cell next to that pervert from Hollywood.
May happen. I mean, there's a lot going on in social media where people are finally standing up to them. Anyway, Dave, we're going to let you go. Thank you for the call. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Aloha, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Peter, are you there?
Raise the point.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, can you hear me, Mike?
I hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the point that Saudi Arabia owns both parties, and you remember they were a huge donor to Hillary Clinton. I mean, a huge one. She said she wanted to go to war with Iran, and of course that got all the money they could shovel at her. So they completely notice she's not saying a thing. And I agree with your earlier callers that Zuckerberg should be in prison, under the prison. But that's it for me, Mike. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that Saudi Arabia just virtually bankrolled. They and Soros, the Clinton campaign.
Yes. Saudi Arabia puts a lot of money into this country, and it does get them a lot of political influence. It's always been a major problem for Israel, which, except for paying our politicians off, tries to take money out of this country. And it's one of the reasons why Israel is constantly trying to undermine Saudi Arabia's image with the American people. Now, I don't know that they had anything to do with Khashoggi, because right now Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been cozying up to Israel and is turning out to be one of their allies now in terms of Israel's plans for the Middle East. But yeah, the Saudis do have a tremendous amount of influence in this country because of the money, because of the petrodollar deal. And it's one of the reasons why I don't think the United States had anything to do with Khashoggi's disappearance. I think it's an internal palace coup trying to put pressure on Mohammed bin Salman to step down from being crown prince. It's not going to work, obviously, but there it is. Okay, so Peter, is that it?
I just wanted to say, just to compare, here we have Saudi Arabia that I'm sure kills people, but it pales in comparison to what Israel's been doing. All the Iranian scientists, they kill with their drafty conscript army. They just wholesale murder the unarmed Palestinian protesters by the hundreds, but shoot them down by the thousands.
Yes.
Remember, they sent a hit team to what was that, Abu Dhabi or somewhere? Yes. A couple of years back. Remember?
Yeah, with stolen passports.
And killed a Palestinian. They do it all the time. Nobody says anything about that.
Right. Yeah, there's a double standard there. And again, I think there's some kind of an agenda behind turning this into a major issue. And it may be to disrupt that economic summit. I don't see the United States as being in a position yet to go to war against Saudi Arabia. I know they're on the list of to be invaded and regime change somewhere down the road, but it's premature at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if we have the off-the-shelf military capability to do that, but they definitely will not allow those oil fields to fall into what they view as unfriendly hands. It has to be somebody that we own or at least have a stake in.
Yeah, very much so. Anyway, Peter, we're going to let you go, and we're going to take a phone call from Dave in Missouri. Aloha, Dave. Thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Mike, for taking my call. I just wanted to apologize. There was evidently some sort of misunderstanding that went on yesterday. I still have on my caller ID where Republic called me. Now, I've been kind of out of touch for about a month. You know, I haven't talked to you. I mean, and I love you. So, I mean, I listen to you very often, but I've had some personal things going on. And so for about a month, I've been kind of out of touch and off the radar, which has really been good for Amy and I. You know, sometimes you just got to do that.
You got to take a break from this stuff.
You get in the crossfire, you know. You can only be under the target so much, you know. So I just want to give kudos to Peter. I second everything he said. But, you know, I'm not that concerned about Saudi Arabia because, I mean, if you think about it, Saudi was nothing but a junk country until oil. And America and our boom is what produced current Saudi Arabia. Now, you know, our war industrial complex, they've taken full advantage of that. McDonnell Douglas, on and on. You know, they love selling military armaments in the Middle East. You know, I mean, the war industrial complex, probably not a more demonic entity on the planet. You know, really not, next to my favorite. And so when I called in yesterday, you know, I just happened to hear you catch a little bit of my diatribe, which is buy locally owned, circulate your dollars locally, right? And so I didn't know why Republic called me. I did not, but it's happened twice now. And dude, I've got this on my caller ID. I mean, you know, I talked to John yesterday, and he said, "Oh, you know, there's no outbound call." I don't know how this happens, Mike, but I am not a liar, and I think you know me well enough through this time to know I'm not going to make this up, right? You know, and I can prove it. I mean, it's literally still in my caller ID.
Okay, Dave, it's just not that big an issue. It's just not that big an issue. It's a he said, and
it's really not. no, it's not. But the thing is that I called in and I heard a little bit of the Chinese thing. Well, that's been my thing all along. You can't carry your money to Walmart, buy it made in China, and think your hometown's going to survive it. Can't do it. And some reason, and maybe it was the way I come off, and I didn't mean it. Brother, I love you. I did not mean it if it come off that way to offend you in any way, because Amy and I love Claire and you, and I think you know that. And I would never do anything to offend your audience. However, I am very passionate about the fact that, if you're carrying your money to buy made in China through Walmart and neglecting your locally owned stores while they die one at a time and your hometown just disintegrates, well, guess who is the problem? That would be you. And that's what I had to say. I mean, and I wasn't even going to say that. I was just calling in to figure out why you guys had called me, But I figured maybe it was some conversation where I have expertise in, and I am an expert in this. I beat Hillary Clinton in Arkansas. I beat Walmart in the Ozarks many times. I'm public enemy number one. I get that. And so I thought maybe, that there was something that you wanted my input on. So I went into my diatribe. Well, maybe I shouldn't have. And I didn't mean to offend you. I do love you. I do love this network. Folks, please support RBN. And as for the rest of this, Mike, man, we are maybe in the craziest times of our life, man.
I agree with you on that one.
Can you believe we have Donald Trump as president? And the thing about it is that Donald Trump is our hope. Donald Trump, I'm not going to start bashing the boy because, he took $100 million and made a couple billion out of it, right? Wouldn't you like the chance to do that? Wouldn't that be cool?
Well, if I had a couple of $1 million, I'd retire. I'll be very honest. I don't need to be a billionaire. It's like I was saying earlier. I'd like enough to be comfortable. I'd like enough to be taking care of Claire in the lifestyle to which I'd like her to become accustomed to. But I don't need to be a billionaire.
I don't either. I mean, when you get to that point, it's just that's demonic. I think. When you can't be satisfied with taking care of your own and you need more and more and more and more, and that's all you can do. I mean, to me, at some point, it becomes something extra human, which in my mind is demonic. That's the only way I know how to gauge this. Hey, brother, I'm going to cut you loose, but I just want you to know that I do love you. I didn't mean to offend you at all yesterday, and I hope you didn't get offended. But folks, this, and you won't hear this anywhere but here. And this is why I'm one of the most hated men in America. Every dollar you drop on a Walmart counter, 5 to 7 cents, stays in the community through payroll, meaning 93 to 95 cents of every dollar you waste dropping on that counter is immediately exported from your hometown and can't be used to grow wages, to promote locally owned businesses, to support your community, to revitalize your towns. It is lost, and it's gone on for decades. Folks, please shop locally owned, buy American. And Mike, I love you, and I love RBN, and I'm checking out.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. And no, I was not offended. And I know that John Stadmiller has checked, and I know that our control room technicians have checked. And wherever you got those phone calls from, it wasn't from us. Somebody is spoofing our number, which unfortunately is very, very easy to do. So we're going to let you go here. The phone lines are now clear. And getting on back to the conflict zones, getting on back to Israel, Avigdor Lieberman is calling on his fellow ministers to approve a large-scale military campaign against Hamas in Gaza in response to what they describe as ongoing riots along the Strip security fence, along with violence. Well, the violence is all on the side of Israel, and what they're calling riots are for the most part, peaceful protests. And so far, it looks like Israel has now hit about 20 different targets in Gaza. So the war is on. And we see this happen every 2 to 3 years. Israel just goes ahead and hauls off and comes up with a pretext to go to war against Gaza. We got to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customer. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Here we're talking about the situation over in Israel. Avigdor Lieberman basically has been telling reporters that Israel must launch another war on Gaza to enforce its blockade on the territory. And Lieberman has ordered the closing of crossings between Gaza and Israel and reduced the permitted fishing zone off of Gaza's coast to just 3 nautical miles. Decisions described by the human rights group Gisha as deliberate punishment of the residents of Gaza for no fault of their own. And that's right, collective punishment is a war crime. Now, up in Germany, there's been a big win for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement because the administrative court of the northwestern German city of Oldenburg ruled that the municipality's decision to cancel a 2016 BDS event had been unlawful. And the court determined that the city council had undermined the fundamental right of the applicant's freedom of assembly and freedom of speech. And they said the municipality severely interfered with those rights. So there's a little bit of a victory there. There's also been another BDS victory, this one actually in Israel itself. You've probably been hearing about the story of Lara Algassim, 22-year-old student, showed up to study in Israel and was detained and locked up because of a supposed past association with a pro-Palestinian group. And apparently she appealed her detention to the Israeli Supreme Court. And they said that, yeah, they can let her into Israel to study. So that one is now over. For those of you who are looking at Beto O'Rourke as a possible member of Congress down there in Texas, he's running as a progressive. He's trying to oust Senator Ted Cruz. But apparently, when he was asked about his stance on Palestine and what's going on there, O'Rourke's campaign described him as a proud advocate of Israel. So it's another Israel firster, and we should not be allowing them into our Congress here. Colonel Larry Wilkerson is out there basically saying that unnecessary wars are hurting our readiness to fight existential wars. Well, from my point of view, all the wars the United States is currently engaged in are unnecessary. They're motivated by greed and the lust for power. None of these nations the United States is waging war on have in any way threatened the United States, other than economically by refusing to use the US dollar. But Wilkerson is pointing out to a fact. Our readiness to fight a major war is in decline. The stockpiles are drawn down. The older weapons are worn out. The new weapons coming on out are basically junk. And if we get into a real shooting war with Russia or China, we're going to be in serious, serious trouble. So let's talk about the economic news here. The Dow tumbled 370 points. Actually, at one point it was down 440. So it's another bad day on the stock markets, and I imagine investors are getting skittish. And basically, the technology and communication services stocks tanked in the midday trade. And that was leading the losses for the broader market. Russia has liquidated nearly all of its holdings of U.S. debt. They're investing their money in gold. Right now, Russian investments in U.S. securities have fallen to just $14 billion. Back in 2011, Russia was one of the largest holders of U.S. debt with a $180 billion investment. And I guess they've just decided that investment is not very good, not attractive anymore, not trustworthy. So they're going back into gold. Story coming out of AntoniusAquinas.com saying that savings, not tariffs, will make America great again. And it's always a good idea to have savings. First of all, to save for things so you don't have to buy them on credit, to have savings in case there's an emergency. Unfortunately, for the vast majority of the American people right now, they're barely making enough just to survive. That's where our economy has descended to. Americans are working harder. They're getting less for that. They don't have money left over for savings. Most Americans don't have savings. So, anyway, I was talking before about how the U.S. is just annoying China between the tariff war, flying warplanes and sending warships through the South China Sea, selling weapons to Taiwan. And now we're getting a little bit of payback because China is saying they may start to ease up on sanctions against North Korea as the trade war is dragging on. Now that's going to really mess things up. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So we're talking about China, which is getting a little tired of the United States, is going to start easing up on sanctions against North Korea. Well, this means basically the sanctions are going to be bypassed. North Korea will simply conduct all the trade it needs to do with China and move into the Chinese sphere of influence. And that may mean, with closer relations with China, that the possible Chinese reaction to a U.S. invasion of North Korea will have to be taken into account. I still think the two Koreas are going to reunify. They're on that path right now. The U.S. wants to stop it. And I think the only way they can stop it is to stage a coup d'etat against Moon Jae-in and put in a new South Korean leader who will agree to continue the belligerence against North Korea. Meanwhile, China's June soy imports have jumped ahead of tariffs, which means what they're doing is they're buying as much as they can before the tariffs come on in. Okay. More and more countries are dumping U.S. treasuries. China and Japan dumped U.S. treasuries the most in August. Russia's central bank is selling off their treasuries. And I don't know who is buying them. Investors are very worried right now. It may be the Federal Reserve is just creating money out of thin air and buying up all the treasuries, which of course is going to put inflationary pressure on the U.S. dollar and lead to a decline in its value as well. Okay, Victor Davis Hanson came on out basically asking what happened to California. And apparently there is a big problem with their high-speed rail project. Now, a couple of weeks ago, a spokesperson for the high-speed rail was poo-pooing critics of the project and promised that his rail project would provide noticeable dividends in reducing traffic congestion. But as it stands right now, it's probably going to be more expensive to use the rail system than to continue to drive one's own car. And I understand that Agenda 30 will call for a ban on cars. We're having the same problem with our light rail here on the island of Oahu, which, by the way, is being built by the same company as California. It's hideously over budget. It's years behind schedule. There's a grassroots citizens group demanding a full audit to find out where the money went. The rail cars that had already been bought are having to be replaced because the frames are already cracking. Large portions of the track, the padding that cushions the trackway against the uprights is already having to be replaced because it's deteriorating. We actually have candidates running for our local legislature who are campaigning on a platform of ending the rail project, which would leave us with all these unsightly tracks all over this part of the island here. Right now, the state of Hawaii is trying to bring in private investors to save the project financially, but that will mean that they will want to make a profit, which will make using the train more expensive, probably more expensive than staying in your cars. Okay, let's talk about that Honduran mob, if you will. Yesterday we were reporting there's actually video footage of somebody actually handing Hondurans cash and children and encouraging them to join with this caravan, if you will. And apparently there's well over 4,000 people. Donald Trump has threatened Guatemala and Mexico with the cutting off of U.S. financial aid if they don't stop this Honduran migrant mob. This has led to complaints from some of these governments that this represents an attack on their sovereignty. And let's see, I had that here. Nope. Anyway, yeah, both Guatemala and El Salvador are saying this is basically disrespecting their sovereignty as independent nations to do this. Mexico has sent a lot of police to try and interdict this mob, but there are 4,000 of them. Donald Trump is now talking about deploying the U.S. military to the border with Mexico to turn them back. So this is going to get very ugly, and there's probably going to be rioting and conflict along the border. Interestingly enough, Stacey Abrams was caught on tape admitting the Democrat blue wave is based on illegal immigrants voting for them. They're not even trying to hide this. The Democratic Party has gone outlaw. Illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote in our elections. So, over in Great Britain, the Remainers are trying a new tactic. They want a 1-year delay in next year's deadline for the Brexit. They're saying they need more time to discuss the compromise deal. They need more time to work out the details. They need the time to deal with the Irish border standoff. It's delay, 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 delay. Okay, over in Germany, as you know, the Alternative for Germany party did very well in the recent Bavarian elections. And now the German Secret Service is thinking it's time to put surveillance on the Alternative for Germany party. And this, of course, is like our FBI spying on Donald Trump. It's purely political. And what they're claiming is that the Alternative for Germany party is potentially anti-constitutional. So the globalists are very much afraid of the surging wave of populism sweeping across Europe right now. Getting into the world of political correctness, Kleenex has now banned the man-sized tissues. Now, they've been selling these for 60 years, and some liberal snowflake came on out and said that's sexist to call it man-size. So Kleenex is going to change the label to extra large. What a silly thing to get your knickers in a twist over here. Story coming on out from Investment Watch blog, basically reporting that a recent investigation by 538 and The Trace found that the Centers for Disease Control is publishing gun injury data that the CDC itself admits is unstable and potentially unreliable. This has not stopped the corporate mainstream media from basically grabbing what amounts to a piece of fake news and broadcasting it all over the airs as factual to push the gun grabber agenda. Now, other agencies and organizations and entities that track this data are showing gun violence is actually down in recent years, and only the CDC is reporting that it's increasing. So, more than a dozen public health researchers agree the CDC gun injury statistics are fake news. Okay, out in California, they're getting ready to pass a bill, Senate Bill 320, and this will call for the 34 University of California and California State University campuses to make the abortion pill available at the student health services. And apparently this started as a grassroots campaign at the University of Berkeley, California, after students who had gotten themselves pregnant noticed it was not available at the campus health center. Well, there is such a thing as birth control, and setting aside whether or not a morning after abortion pill is killing somebody or not, because I'm in agreement that at that early stage of the pregnancy, it's not a human being. All of these medications are very harmful to the body. I mean, reproduction is why we exist. You know, that DNA trying to replicate itself into the future, and everything else is just life support for that. And we keep seeing all these stories about anything that is interfering with reproduction, chemically or certain IUDs. It's causing all kinds of other problems. And maybe it's just time to go back to just good old-fashioned condoms and just, yeah, ladies, carry them with you. admit to yourself that, yes, you're going to have sex every once in a while. And also in the world of sexually transmitted diseases, it's definitely a better place, a better way to go here. Birth rates in the United States have now hit a record low. The CDC is reporting drops in birth rate in every part of the countries, averaging 20% declines in the cities and 15% in rural areas. This has happened since 2007. Now, the average age that women have their first child is climbing. It's now 24 years old. And according to Gretchen Livingston, who's a demographer at Pew Research, it's not clear why that dip hasn't started to level off now. Because normally when there's a decline in the birth rate that's driven, for example, like the economy, it will level off and stabilize, but it's still going down. Well, there's another possibility out there that we need to look at, and that's that epicite gene. And for those who don't remember the story, epicite was this genetically modified corn, which if you eat it, it makes it impossible for you to reproduce. It triggers the creation of antibodies that target human sperm. And it was tested in open fields. It was developed with a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's now owned by Monsanto, but if that pollen broke into the wild, and by the way, the sharpest population decline is in the Hispanic population, who are the highest per capita consumers of corn. If that pollen broke into the wild, that is a potential extinction level event. Okay, over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Seneca Valley High School District, they're facing a lawsuit from a former male student who was kicked out of school and investigated for sexual assault due to a series of false accusations made by female students. And the girls, who are dubbed the Mean Girls in the lawsuit, which is a reference to the 2004 Lindsay Lohan film, admitted on tape they made up the assault story simply because they didn't like the guy and they wanted to get him expelled. And obviously this male student had his life completely derailed. And actually had to have 6 months of probation on the accusation. So yes, women do lie about sexual assault. Just deal with it. We have been talking about our out-of-control police forces, and over in Connecticut, there was a police officer, Hartford police officer Stephen Barone, basically last August stopped a group of males suspected of trespassing on private property. But Barone was heard and caught on tape boasting that if he shot somebody, he would be paid overtime. And then he said that he was trigger happy. He's been fired, fortunately. Now, Ecuador apparently has started restoring internet and phone access to Julian Assange. It's under heavy restrictions. He's allowed to have visitors other than his legal team here. But apparently, Ecuador at one point tried to get Julian Assange to Russia. And they tried to do it by naming him as a political counselor to Ecuador's embassy in Moscow. But the British authorities vetoed his status, which would have left him vulnerable to arrest on the streets here. Facebook is in trouble again. We reported on this yesterday, where advertisers are suing Facebook for vastly inflating metrics for a year before it was publicly disclosed in 2016. And Facebook was simply overrepresenting how long people were looking at advertising videos by 900%. And the advertisers are saying that, yes, they spent a lot more money on Facebook ads than they should have had to, based on the flawed metrics. Apparently, Apple stores are under fire for overcharging for simple repairs. And again, Apple itself is once again dealing with this battery slowdown scandal, where Apple insists it's designed to maximize the life of the battery, but consumers are saying it's just Apple trying to encourage people to get the new Apple 10 or the Apple X, whichever we want to call it. Now, you know about the Women's March, and it was basically, being ginned up, the Women's March. It turns out that a lot of the Facebook pages for the Women's March were being run from Bangladesh. And there were 1,700 separate Facebook pages designed to look like they were run by the local Women's March organizers, and they were set up basically to sell T-shirts. Lots and lots of T-shirts. So somebody in Bangladesh was being very, very clever here. Now, despite the request from the FBI not to discuss the source of the Facebook hack, Facebook has gone public saying that it appears that it was done by spammers looking to get money through deceptive advertising rather than a foreign state. So we're going to take another break for commercials, back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show and our last segment of the program today on this Thursday. And we're starting to see a lot of these Silicon Valley giants go after each other. And one of the latest is that eBay has now sued Amazon.com, claiming that Amazon infiltrated eBay's internal email system in order to recruit high-value sellers. So basically, people will sell on either eBay or Amazon. eBay and Amazon obviously make money off of these sales. So basically, Amazon was poaching the high-volume, high-value sellers off of eBay. And according to the complaint filed in state court in San Jose, California, Amazon's illegal efforts appear to be part of a larger pattern of aggressive, unscrupulous conduct. Now, Amazon, through a spokeswoman, declined to comment. The company said it was investigating eBay's allegations, which came to light this month after eBay sent a cease and desist letter to Amazon. Now, eBay has accused Amazon of poaching sellers on its site around the world by infiltrating and using eBay's member-to-member email system. And the San Jose-based company says the alleged practice violates the terms of service. And it's just tacky to do. There's no question about that. Okay, remember that accident with the limousine that killed 20 people up in New York last weekend? The owner of that limousine company was an FBI informant, and it turns out he's one of the informants who helped carry out 2 big entrapment operations against Muslims after 9/11. And prior to being recruited by the FBI, he was caught helping people cheat on DMV tests, and before that, he was arrested for murder in Pakistan, but escaped after somebody bribed the police. Now, the FBI officially permits its informants to commit 5,000 plus crimes a year and get away with it. Remember the Whitey Bulger scandal? Running an illegal limousine service that kills 20 people was probably not on the list. But apparently the FBI provided luxury cars to help get this business started in 2008. But going on back to the first part, this guy worked for the FBI as part of these entrapment operations, where the FBI will get somebody close to a Muslim who's not planning on doing anything, and they'll try and encourage them to commit an act of terror. They'll provide the explosives, provide the supplies, and just get the person, ready to go. Then the FBI swoops on in, makes the arrests. It gets headlines. Muslims are demonized. But it is entrapment. And then, of course, 6 months down the road, the judge will throw the case out because it is obviously a case of entrapment. But the propaganda goal has been accomplished. They made the Muslims look bad in the media. And I guess the Muslims who go along with the FBI on these things get treated rather well. So anyway, apparently, along with everything else those poor people in Yemen are having to deal with, they've been hit by massive flooding from tropical cyclone Luban, which made landfall between Mukalla and Al Gadanir. And there should be some music there. There it is. Okay. So we're at the end of our show now. Please stay tuned for John Studmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Take what you learn here, share it with everyone you know. Email, face-to-face, SneakerNet, what have you. Ignore the big corporate social media. Start switching over to the new up-and-comers who still respect equality of communication, equality of opinion, the right to free expression. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Donate to What Really Happened. We'll be back tomorrow with the Lady Claire. Aloha, America.
From Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations. A+. It's